I'm just calling. I've been having a really hard time. I've been using drugs and I really want to stop.
Is this the CARES warm line? Great. I'm having a hard time. I need somebody to talk to. I just need somebody to listen to me.
What I do on the warm line is I give back. I carry the message and I give experience, strength, and hope through my own lived experience. I'm so honored to be able to talk to people that have the same struggles as I do. The warm line is self-gratifying because when you start out a call that somebody is really struggling, when you can bring that call to a peaceful place and they're laughing and they're cutting up before you end the phone, that is so self-gratifying to me.
We're hope dealers. You know, we give hope to people that need hope. For some people that's checking in every day. For some people that's listening to our experiences, and sometimes it's just being heard. The most important thing that we do is listen. We hear you because we listen.
I'm here to listen. They can talk about anything they want to talk about, and I want to be here to support them, meet them right where they are, and bring words of encouragement to them, and just most of all, let them know that they can make it through whatever they're going through.
So working on the warm line actually gives me a chance to support people, brings more purpose to my life and my recovery. I get to hold a sacred space for people. I never dreamed that the darkest and scariest places of my life would bring me to where I am today, helping other people.
We are recovery peer coaches, and we just offer support and encouragement and resources for people who just want connection, or we have callers that want to just call and share victories with us, or grief, or they just used, just someone to be with them.
When people call in, I am the recovery coach that they talk to, and I'm here to give people support, hope, empathize with them, and encourage them on whichever recovery path they're on.
We've been where our peers have been, and that's what makes it so appealing for our peers in recovery. The warm line is available for any peer to call and know that they have someone that's been just where they are.
It's okay, you want to talk about it? Okay, go ahead. I'm here to listen. It's very important that peers have somebody with lived experience that they can reach out to. This line is so valuable to the recovery community because we have confidentiality. They're not having to face nobody, they're just on the other end of the phone, because it takes a lot of courage to even take a step to pick up a phone and call anybody. And to know that they're gonna get somebody on the other end of the line with lived experience, that is amazing, because somebody that had been through some of the same things that I have been through breathed life into me. And I call it breathing life into somebody else, giving back to somebody else the gift that has been given to me, which is the gift of recovery.
Good evening, Kids Warm Line. Michelle speaking.
I'm on drugs, ma'am, and I need some help.
You're talking to a woman that's in long-term recovery, meaning I haven't used any mind-altering substance over 19 years. Every time I think about what I lived through and how somebody else may be going through what I might have got to go through, I want to be there to support them. I know I can live my recovery out loud, can relate to them. I want to be there to let them know that they're going to be able to make it through and be that light in someone's dark place.
In 2016, over 63,000 Americans have died from drug overdoses. In Georgia, opioids have been predominantly the driven factor behind the spike in drug overdose deaths. In 2015, opioids were the cause of 88% of all overdose deaths in Georgia.
I started to think about the CARES Warm Line after speaking to a reporter. He was doing a story on a young man who was addicted to heroin and opiates, and he told me the young man progressed in his addiction and he ended up going to prison. He was 22 years old when he got out of prison. He called me and told me that the young man had passed away. When he got out, he didn't have any social support. He couldn't find a job because he had a felony, and so he started using again. And he chewed on a fentanyl patch the next day and died. I just sat down in my chair really hard and I thought, not another one. A 22-year-old young man with his whole future ahead of him is gone. And he didn't have any reason to be. He had every intention of doing the right thing, and he just had nobody to help him or connect with or to tell him a story or to hear what his pain and his isolation felt like. After that, I thought we should have a phone number where people can call and get connected.
The CARES Warm Line is kind of groundbreaking in that there's never been a recovery support, phone support for people in recovery in the state of Georgia. We're the first of its kind. Some words of encouragement that I like to give some of the callers that call the Warm Line are, you're not alone. You don't have to do this by yourself. We're here and we care.
This is the CARES Warm Line. This is Bertrand. What may I call you?
I was just wondering if I could talk to somebody. The past few months have just been pretty hard.
Let's take a couple deep breaths together. Okay. On 1, 2, 3, let's breathe in. Being a peer specialist, what that means to me is I'm able to use my experiences, the good and the bad, to let people know that they're not alone. We use our experience to empower people. We made it to the other side. We give hope that you can make it to the other side.
I am so sorry. What happened? Every call is different. You don't have the same call twice. We have some repeat callers who we formed connections with them, and we just are there to support and encourage them on their walkway to recovery.
Oh, that's great to hear. I'm really glad to hear that. You know, it's refreshing when someone calls and wants to share a great thing that's happened in their life. That's what we're here for. There's never been a warm line that's specifically to address issues of substance use disorder. One of the most important parts of the CARES Warm Line is that we listen with love. We validate feelings and we empathize. And if you can't get that where you are, you can get that when you call the CARES Warm Line.
Good afternoon, CARES Warm Line. This is Steve speaking.
Can't keep a job. I keep going to jail. I just can't get it right. I need help.
People call into the Warm Line so they can get support. We have people call into the Warm Line to be encouraged. People call into the Warm Line just to have somebody to listen to, somebody they can talk to, and somebody that will listen. They know they can call the CARES Warm Line because we're not here to judge. They're talking to somebody who have lived experience, that has been through what they're going through.
Hey man, your story sounds so much like mine. I can totally relate to what you're saying. If you don't mind, I'd love to share, my experience with it. Somebody calls up and they are looking for support and their story is similar to mine, and I can offer that support, I can be that light. It's pretty awesome. No one can tell someone what their recovery path is. It's personal. The CARES Warm Line gave me an opportunity to hold up that individual's choice. The breaking point for me to find recovery was I found myself homeless, without a job. I felt that I'd burned every bridge that I'd built. There was not a recovery support line available to me when I was finding my way to recovery and wellness. But it would have been nice to have somebody there, to know that there was somebody that I could call or text and find some support. We say that connection is the opposite of addiction. And I realized as I progressed in my recovery that those connections were really never severed. The only barriers that I had were the ones that I put up myself.
I came out of college and I didn't really know what to do with my life, and I came from a household that used drugs. When times got really bad for me and I really didn't know what to do, I started using drugs and alcohol, and when it got more than what I can handle, then it really allowed me to now experience homelessness. It allowed me to be able to do things that I wasn't happy about doing. I had 4 kids, and so it wasn't easy trying to take care of a household using drugs. I thank God for everything that He's done for me to help me rebuild back that household.
household?
I started using when I was about 16 years old. I successfully used from the age I was 16 to the age of 25. I used drugs for 24 years, hard drug use. My addiction spiraled out of control. I was arrested 8 times, and my oldest son, he was in one pod while I was in the other. My life was completely out of control and completely unmanageable, and I needed something greater than myself to reach down and do something for me that I could not do for myself. That's why I want to do what I'm doing, because I fight for his right to recover also. Not only mine, but his also.
The thing that turned me around and caught my attention, that knew I had reached bottom and I knew that I needed help, was one particular day, me and my childhood friend was shooting drugs, and this particular day he OD'd and died. I didn't. Went to his funeral, and before the processional started, I walked up to the casket and looked at his body. And while I was standing there, I heard a still small voice tell me, say, Steve, if you don't stop doing what you're doing, you're gonna be lying in that casket next. And that's what it took to scare me straight out of 27 years of heroin addiction.
While I was in my addiction, I was a functional addict for the most part. I still had the nice house and the nice cars and money in my account, and I was married, but it was beginning to spiral out of control. The state of Georgia wanted to give me 10 years in prison, and that's when I woke up and said, you know, I need to do something different in life. It's been amazing. I actually am living a life that I once only dreamt about having. I wish that we would have had this service available when I was seeking recovery.
My turning point was actually when I was sitting incarcerated and my life was headed downhill. I did make bad choices that landed me to almost serving 40 years in prison.
My experience in active addiction caused me to ostracize from my family. I had stolen a car, my family had disowned me. I got to the point in my life where I had to find something different. I found that recovery is possible, but not only that it's possible, but that it's wonderful. Because of the many challenges, grief disorder, I lost 2 children, I lost my home, I had an abusive marriage. I began to pick up pretty things, sparkling rocks, pretty pieces of glass, so that I could develop a kaleidoscope of my own, so that any time that I'm challenged in my recovery, I could always turn and get a pretty picture that's different. If I had the CARES Warm Line when I was in my active addiction, I could have spoken to a peer that could have guided me sooner to my journey to recovery.
I knew my life was bad. Every morning I woke up and I told myself, I am not going to drink today. And every morning by 10 o'clock I was drinking. I could not stop. I was in this cycle. I lost my dad. I lost some significant relationships. I was homeless. I was really desperate. So for me, getting sober and getting into recovery was kind of the last house on the street. I felt like it's either this or I'm gonna die.
And I'm asking y'all for help. So can you please help me, please?
I've been getting into the drug scene, and I think I want to get out. And I need some help.
Our peer recovery coaches go through additional training into what they get in our CARES Academy. So they get training on ways to deal with people who are in crisis, because sometimes people call and it's a little more than we can handle. If someone needs to call 911, we can transfer them to 911, or we can transfer them to the Crisis and Access line that we have here in Georgia.
Georgia Crisis and Access Line, this is Larry, licensed clinician. Are you calling for services, for information, or are you in a crisis?
We try to de-escalate the crisis over the phone, and if we're not able to do that, then we can also dispatch mobile teams, which is a mobile clinician and a care consultant, somebody who is a paraprofessional that can go out and actually talk with a person who's in crisis and de-escalate the situation on the scene, and also connect them to services. If the CARES Warm Line is on the phone with somebody and it turns out that they're actually in crisis, then they can warm transfer that caller to GCAL, meaning that they will actually stay on the line with the individual. They will reach out to GCAL, GCAL will pick up the phone. The CARES Warm Line folks will stay on the phone with that caller until the GCAL clinician is available to help with that crisis. Here at GCAL, we are absolutely thrilled that the CARES Warm Line is available. It's a wonderful referral source for people who are potentially being discharged from a CSU, and they want that ongoing support that they can access by no matter where they are in the state of Georgia. Maybe it's difficult for them to physically get to their therapist or their program, But they can always pick up the phone and talk to somebody who knows exactly what it's like to be in their shoes. We're absolutely thrilled to be working with the CARES Warm Line that has been sponsored by the Georgia Council on Substance Abuse. It's even more pertinent now with the opioid crisis that the whole country is experiencing. It is just really phenomenal to have this resource available.
The CARES Warm Line is made possible through a contract with the Georgia Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Disabilities. They came to us and said, "We heard you talking about the idea of a warm line and we're interested." They loved the idea. They thought that this is really a way to reach a lot of people, especially with this opiate crisis, that we can target those communities that are affected by that. And so they gave us a lot of leeway in developing it and have been very supportive.
We can create opportunities for wellness along the continuum. So recovery is supported by connections. It's really not about abstinence. It's about the things that people can connect to that helps them to get better. The CARES Warm Line is a perfect example of how that works. Somebody seeking recovery or somebody who is in recovery but wants to maintain their recovery, you can actually call and talk to a peer, someone who has specialized training to use their lived experience to help the individual on the other side of that line.
How can I support you in helping you to feel better?
I just feel so much better now after talking to you. I feel like I can really get through this. I feel like I'm bigger than my addiction.
The opposite of addiction is connection. If we can make that connection with somebody, that means a whole lot. Just to have somebody that you can pick up the phone and talk to.
Okay, great. Well, I feel better now that I have somebody who's been through what I'm going through.
I would like them to know that they are talking to somebody with lived experience on what they are going through. And I can relate with them 100%.
I'm just ready to get my life together.
I can see that they become inspired to make a life-changing decision, and when they say that this course really helped them, that's a great fulfillment for me.
It's nice to know that I can talk to somebody that knows what I'm going through.
Some people say you gotta hit rock bottom. We do not believe that. The elevator gets off at every floor. Whatever floor you decide to get off on, we're here to support that. So we're here for good days, bad days, and okay days. For that person that went through treatment 3 times, he didn't make it to 4. That's the most important thing.